Why, hello there. Have a seat. We need to have a little bit of a chat. Today, we're going to talk about the new Nissan Z. Not the 400Z, the Nissan Z. I told you it'd be called the Z. No, I'm not a 3.0T guy. The channel has mostly focused on the VQ37 platform, but this is Speed Culture Studios, for crying out loud. Speed Culture, not VQ Culture. Now, with everybody and their stepchildren making a Nissan Z video, I thought I owed you my 2 cents. Not that you guys care, but here it is anyway. There's already a million videos out there since the reveal happened a couple of weeks ago. I'd encourage you to check out Enthusiast POV's video. He actually got to see the Z up close and personal, and of course, working for Z1, he has some insider knowledge, I'd say. Everyone seems to be comparing the Z to the Supra, and that seems like the obvious vehicle to compare this car to, but we're not really, maybe we'll do that a little bit here today, but I can't really give you any more additional information than what's already out there. It'd just be white noise, but I kind of wanted to give you my opinion. What do I think about the car now that we've gotten some of these details? Does it really compare to the Supra? And should I buy one? Will I buy one? First things first, we know that the car is coming with the 3.0T, the twin turbo 3.0 liter V6, the same as the Q50 and Q60. It is indeed going to be rated at 400 horsepower from what we know, and I think those cars generally, like the Red Sport 400s dyno, around 385, 390 wheel, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And something just over 350 foot-pounds of torque. Now that's pretty stout. If you guys remember my video from a while back when we first were talking about the Z coming out, I said Nissan would need to do a couple of things to make me even remotely interested in purchasing this vehicle. One of those things was giving the car an LSD. With an open differential on a track-inspired vehicle, which is what they were calling it, it's just nonsense. The car needs a limited slip differential, or I couldn't even care less about it. The second thing I mentioned was that it needs a dual clutch transmission, at least a better transmission than what they've been putting in these Nissan Infiniti cars over the years. The 7-speed auto is just not going to cut it. Even though the newer 7-speed autos in the Q50s and 60s can hold a little bit more power and torque, it's not sufficient for a car that is truly track inspired if they wanted it to actually be track inspired. The other thing was potentially a manual transmission. Based on what we saw at the reveal, I'm happy to say that we got both of those things, at least in the performance package. Really interesting, and I actually like how Nissan did this. They call the base model the Sport, and then the step above is the performance. So there's no base model, there's no Luxe model, there's no premium. It's just Sport and performance. Sounds like this Sport model will be equipped as any normal base model would, where the performance package, that gets all the bells and whistles. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the LSD is in the performance package Z, while you can still get either one of the two transmission options in that Sport model, the base model. Now, the two transmissions that I refer to, of course, are the 6-speed manual transmission, which I am super happy that Nissan kept in the Z car. It's not a Z car if there's no 6-speed manual option. The other transmission, which I am also happy to see, is no longer that 7-speed automatic. It is now a Mercedes-designed, as far as I understand, a Mercedes-designed 9-speed automatic, which should be pretty snappy. Now, it's not a dual clutch, so it's going to be a little bit more smooth. It's not necessary. It doesn't really maybe give it that raw driver's car feeling that a dual clutch transmission would, but I think it kind of will make everyone happy. It's going to cruise nicely on the highway, and it's going to be really, really quick. Something that I also found to be really cool was that the Z can come with, at least the automatics, can come with a carbon composite drive shaft. That's really sweet. Now, keep the overall weight down as well as some of the rotational mass down. It's just going to help. It's going to help spin those RPM up. It's going to help get the acceleration going. It's just going to be, it's just a good addition. Looking at a 0 to 60 time of 4.5 seconds, it seems pretty quick, but now when we're talking about comparing it to the Supra, it has a 0 to 60 rating of 3.9 seconds. It doesn't really compete from the factory. At least it doesn't sound like it. Say the Supra has a horsepower rating of about 380 horsepower and 368 foot-pounds of torque, where this new Z is about 400, 350. Obviously, every dyno reads a little bit different, and all the conditions that go into the results of a dyno can vary greatly. So I think the numbers there are super, super close. But what's interesting is the 3.9 0 to 60 compared to a 4.5. Now, everything with this new Z is speculation, of course, because we're not out there hitting the streets with them. Now, we know the Supra comes in at under 3,400 pounds, and I can imagine that the new Z is probably going to be around that 3,400 to 3,500 pound range. It just seems to be what Nissan does. I know the Supra has that ZF 8-speed transmission, which is pretty beastly, and we've heard them, we've seen them on the street. Those things rip. And with just simple modifications, they make some big power and some big torque numbers. So I'm very, very excited to see what people will do with this new Z. We all know what the 3.0T is capable of, and I guess it sounds like this new 3.0T engine is actually a 3.0 liter V6, whereas the previous generation of 3.0 was slightly smaller. So a larger displacement, even slightly. We'll see what this car can do on the dyno. If you really want to compare these two vehicles, I think you have to look at the overall picture, the vehicle themselves, of course, but then the driving experience, and then take into consideration the fact that Nissan really upped their game a little bit with this new Z in terms of the LSD, the 6-speed manual option, as well as the option of the 9-speed automatic that's going to really rip. I guess they've made some improvements with the turbos themselves. Check out Z1 Motorsports on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that. I think they put some details out about that recently on an Instagram post. We already know what this 3.0T is capable of, so it's going to be, it truly is going to be tough, stiff competition for that Supra. Performance and numbers and all of that, that's just one element, right? The other thing is the overall design. What do you think about the interior? What do you think about the interior of the Z compared to the Supra? In my opinion, the Z looks a lot better. Now, I saw the Z, and I think everyone has probably seen those pictures of the blue interior. It's not my style. It's a little bit much. Now, I think if there were some blue accents or some blue panels in the seats, I think that wouldn't be bad. Like a leather blue Alcantara or blue suede combo, I think that would have been cool, but totally blue like that is just a little much. The profile of the Z is starting to grow on me a little bit. I do like the rear end, especially at that 3/4 angle. I like sort of that, the fact that they kind of paid homage to the old 300Z, and that kind of straight line taillight setup. I think that's really cool. I still can't get over really the front end. I know that it's meant to bring in a lot more air. Enthusiast POV addressed this topic in his video. I think there could have been some a little bit different styling, a little bit of a finessing of that front bumper in order to still allow massive amounts of air into the engine bay to cool that engine and prevent heat soak. But they went with that kind of square, you know, like Cookie Monster looking face. I think the headlight design is ugly as sin. It's sort of ladybuggy, almost like something like a Volkswagen Beetle, a modern Volkswagen Beetle would have, not a Nissan Z. Like a starry-eyed beetle from like a Bug's Life or something. They got their inspiration from a Pixar movie. But we saw how big of an aftermarket popped up with the 370Z, so I can only imagine some of the body kits and the bumpers and things of that nature that are going to come up for this car. It's going to be awesome. Now the interior, back to the interior a little bit, I like the steering wheel. I like the dash. I like sort of that infotainment area and the shifter. 3 gauges on the dash look pretty sick. I think it's cool, it's sleek, it's clean, and if you guys have been following along, I'm not into technology, I'm not into all the bells and whistles and the fancy buttons and all that crap. I don't need it. Simpler the better, in my opinion. And then you go into the Supra, talking about comparisons. The steering wheel is ugly. It has that big old screen on the dash, which a typical BMW does, and it seems like an afterthought to me. I've said this a number of times. Audi sort of does the same thing. It's kind of like a German thing, maybe. They put this dash in, they built this nice cockpit, and then they're like, you know what, wait a second, we need a big-ass computer screen or a tablet stuck up on the dash, but we don't really have anywhere to put it, so throw some 2-sided tape down and just stick that screen right there in the middle of the dash. I don't like that. It's not appealing to me. The other things that I don't like about the Supra is the rear end looking straight at it. It's got those kind of weird lights and then vents on the side. It's kind of bunchy, and that little spoiler. And the front, the nose, is something that I haven't really gotten into myself either, looking at it straight on. It's just not appealing. The profile of the Supra is badass. And I will say the Supra sounds way better. There's something about that rowdy Supra exhaust note, and then you compare it to the 3.0T, which is kind of tinny, raspy, empty. It's just kind of gross. The biggest challenge with comparing these two vehicles really is that everything with this new Z is speculation. The Supra has been out. It's had bolt-ons, it's been tested, it's been driven, it's been tuned and raced. We know what it's capable of, and it's exciting. It's exciting. The only thing we can really base our discussion on and base our thinking and our feelings on regarding this new Z is what the spec sheet tells us. What we know of the 3.0T being able to produce in terms of power and performance in other platforms. But this is a smaller car, a little bit different suspension setup, 6-speed manual transmission, 9-speed automatic. We don't know how those things are really going to how they're going to pair together, and the difference that we're going to see in this new Z car. We know what those earlier generation 3.0Ts are capable of, and if this car, which we know it will be able to, can produce even close to those performance numbers with a few bolt-ons and a tune, and if we can mitigate all of the heat soak with that big ass opening in the front grille paired with some big brakes and an LSD and that new transmission, I'm pumped. This thing is going to be rowdy. Am I going to get one? Well, I can guarantee you that I'm not going to get the first one. I never like first generation vehicles, getting them brand new because of all the bugs. Now I know the 3.0T's been around and improvements have already been made through the years since 2016, right? But there's just, it's a new Z, new transmissions, new rear end, different suspension components. There's things I gotta let happen first. But the other thing is depreciation in automobile values. You drive that car off the lot, it immediately drops. Now this may be a car that has sort of a cult following. We know that it's really been hyped up over the last couple of years, so values may hover. They may not drop all that much. And that's another thing to talk about. The Supra, they're 50 something thousand, and even used now they're $45,000, $50,000, $53,000. I've seen them online. They say that the Z is going to start in the mid to high fours. I'd imagine once they hit the dealerships, they're going to mark them up. Some people have said in the $50K range. I wouldn't be surprised to see them for sale at $60,000, and that's just me. I've seen the new Bronco. The new Bronco is supposed to be 50 grand. They're coming out at $75,000 and $80,000 in some of these lots. That's insane to me. So no, I'm probably not going to get one, at least when they first come out, but I'll wait a couple of years and then we might have to get our hands on one. But God, it would be exciting to get one of the first ones out there. I'm sure the channel would blow up, but I'm not sure that I can commit that much money to a vehicle that I know the value is going to depreciate on. It's just not something I can do. Unless, of course, you guys go through and like all my videos, subscribe to the channel, give all the thumbs up, share, and all that stuff, and we really boost this thing up. I tell you, if I hit 100,000 subscribers, I'll buy a new Z. How about that? In the comment section below what you guys think about the new Z, and if you think it even compares to the Supra, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.